What's up, y'all? It's your boy Sean P back again with another edition of Hip Hop Roundtable Reviews. So today, we're going to talk about the greatest diss records in hip hop history, and I'm going to give you my top five. I'm going to walk you down from number 5 to number 1 in this. And the reason why we're doing this today is this is a commemoration, the 1 year commemoration of maybe the craziest night in hip hop history as far as the battle is concerned. Because on last year, Friday evening, I believe it was either May 1st, we got 616 in LA from Kendrick Lamar. Then that was followed up by Drake and Family Matters, which was maybe his best diss record in the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. Followed right up by Meet the Grams by Kendrick Lamar. And then right after that, the next following evening was the epic hit record, Not Like Us. So this was just a dramatic sequence that just went back in a period of over really 3 days that stretched out from Friday, Saturday, all the way to Sunday, really. And this was the most epic event as far as a rap battle is concerned. So with that, I wanted to go through my top 5 greatest diss records of all time to kind of commemorate last year's epic battle that went down between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. So I'm going to start first with my number 5 album, or I'm sorry, number 5 record. And that's with 50 Cent, Back Down. I think this, and just to set the scene, this was when 50 Cent was just coming on and coming into his own as far as being the top guy in hip hop. He was white hot at this time. He actually came with a song, Wanksta, which was another diss on the crew he was coming at, which was Murder Inc. and Ja Rule. But it didn't have the venom that this Back Down record had. I think Back Down was really the nail in the coffin, if you will, as to bringing down Murder Inc., who Murder Inc. at that time and Ja Rule was the top hip hop label at that time. And G Unit was coming up. G Unit was in the underground. They just got signed to Shady Aftermath Records. And this was kind of the takeover moment. Once 50 came with this record, he took over and was the undisputed king of hip hop. Nobody was messing with him at that time. And he basically wiped out the number one guy who was the commercial king in Ja Rule. And he just came at him with just a straight character assassination, calling him fake, a wannabe street guy, Murder Inc. for being a fake label, trying to be thugs than they really weren't, He really came at that and just took them down bit by bit, piece by piece, and just embarrassed Ja Rule for being soft. Basically a soft dude, you know what I mean? And just broke down like their entire formula for success as to how Murder Inc. were frauds. You know what I mean? A line that comes to from that album, from that song is, Jay put you on, X made you hot, and now you know the rest. You know what I mean? And that's the truth, because they came on and really Murder Inc. was kind of the coattail riders of that time, riding off of Rough Riders' success and also riding off the success of Jay-Z at that time through features. And he blew up, and was, putting out hit records on the radio. But 50 Cent just came in off of Back Down and just wiped him clear out. You know what I mean? So he just wiped him clean. So Back Down is my number 5 record. It's one of the hardest diss records of all time. My next song is Tupac Hit 'Em Up. And Hit 'Em Up came in a time when, you know, Biggie and Pac were going at it in the mid 90s. This was uh obviously the most consequential rap beef of all time, with the two biggest guys in hip hop losing their lives, unfortunately. But this was really a rebuttal to Biggie, and when he came with Who Shot You, which was a subliminal diss about Tupac, which kind of went over Tupac being shot at Baseline Studios in New York in the early 90s, So this was kind of a rebuttal to that once Tupac got on death row, and he just ripped Biggie apart, basically exposing him for having relations with his wife at the time, who were having faith, and he put it out there, and it was just the most disrespectful, to Biggie's person and who he was and his love life and all of that, and just it wiped him out clean. Really, he just smoked Biggie on this record. And this was, kind of inflammatory given the current situation of the streets at the time, and you could say escalated things between the two crews to both artists' untimely demise. But as a diss record, this was a legendary diss record, really a rebuttal, and also provided energy for Tupac's next album, which was Machiavelli, which he dissed Biggie and the East Coast all throughout the album. I mean, Nas, Jay-Z, Biggie, P. Diddy. I mean, anybody who was on the East Coast who was hot at the time got it on Machiavelli, So these are my number 5 and number 4 records. Now, just to interject real quick, what I'm basing this on is mostly off of hip hop cultural impact and the iconic test of time that these songs have shown, even if some of these songs coming up have only lasted for a year. This is not so much about lyrical content, where I think in diss records, it's not so much about lyrics, it's not so much about lyrical mastery or whatever, but you have to have direct, hard-hitting content, but you still need to have concepts around those songs. You still need to have some things that are somewhere clever and witty rhymes that come at that artist. So I do think lyrics do matter in diss records, but it has to be more direct. Not so much subliminal, but direct. So back to recap. Number 5, 50 Cent, Back Down. Number 4, Tupac, Hit 'Em Up. So my next record coming up, and this, some people may say, given the current state of the times, that this may be a little bit lower on the list, but I'm going to go with Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us. And the reason why is because Not Like Us may be the biggest, I'd say, club banger or street banger diss record of all time. This record took off and became just an iconic hit record. Assassinated Drake's character, which Drake is the one person, obviously, he came at in this. And basically, I mean, he accused Drake and his crew of, having relations with young girls, you know what I mean? And also really taking down, Drake as how much of a hypocrite and a fraud he is for using an Atlanta trap sound to carry his career, as how he chased an Atlanta sound through 2 Chainz, Little Baby, Future, and those guys basically ripped their sound to stay hot, which a lot of people at the time, especially in hip hop culture, were saying. So I think this record, I mean, and of course they got played at the Super Bowl, in a Super Bowl performance, and it really put a dent as far as hip hop culture is concerned towards Drake. You know what I mean? Drake, you could argue, has not recovered since. And this was really the nail in the coffin that took the Drake and Kendrick battle over the top. And really the moment that gave this battle to Kendrick. Because even if you said with Meet the Grams and Family Matters was a very scathing diss towards Kendrick. But I think people were saying it was still pretty debatable when Meet the Grams came out, which is another very notable hip hop diss record. But once Not Like Us came and you saw the cultural impact, people dancing in the streets in LA with the song, it going to #1 and being the biggest song of 2024, winning Grammys, being the headlining song performed at the Super Bowl. I mean, it just went on and on and on, and really just had an impact on the game that we've never seen before. But there's a reason why I have it at #3, and my #2 song is another song by Kendrick Lamar in this record, which kind of in this battle, which kind of set the whole beef off, and that's Euphoria. Euphoria is my #2 record. Now, why did I pick Euphoria as the #2 diss record of all time over Not Like Us? Well, the real reason why I did that is because this basically tore Drake's soul apart. It really spoke to all of his character flaws, his insecurities as a man. And these are insecurities that people have seen through some of his petty ways that he's done over the years. I mean, it spoke to his inner conflict with his racial and cultural identity. You know what I mean? It spoke to him as his, if you want to call it womanizing or disrespect for women. It spoke to him as far as his weird relationship with his father that walked out on his mother at a young age. And all of a sudden, Drake, when he becomes big, wants to befriend his father and go on with his father and empower his father, even though his father disrespected his mother throughout his life, So he wants to elevate and be like his dad now, which were the same ways that basically hurt his mother. You know what I mean? And basically, it speaks to Drake's identity crisis as to who he really is as a person. I mean, the line in there, which is a great double entendre too, was really a rebuttal to what Drake came with Push Ups, which was really the initial song that sparked off the battle, basically saying to Kendrick Lamar, the only reason why you're big is because people want to hate on the boy. Basically, because they only like you because they hate Drake, right? So Kendrick follows up and says, yeah, you know what? I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. That he just goes in right after that. But not only that, he said, we hate the women that you fuck with, women you fuck, because they confuse themselves with real women. I'm not the only one. I'm what the culture's feeling. That was epic because #1, it's a double entendre as far as his insecurities towards women. Because #1, you talk to women that confuse themselves with real women because he's obsessed with Instagram thoughts and OnlyFans models, Drake, and dating them. And at the same time, he's been alleged to date younger women who are 19, 20 years of age, a la Lotto's sister, So with that, that's a double entendre as far you're confused about that. But not only that, you know what I mean? Women that confuse themselves, is your fan base. You know what I mean? And at the same time, he basically flipped it and put hip hop culture behind him. You know what I mean? He basically made this a battle between hip hop culture and microwave industry music, which is what Drake represents right now, you know? And after that, you started hearing people say, this is what the culture is talking about for the culture, for hip hop culture. You started to see these buzzwords and terminologies on hip hop blogs and hip hop websites. So he really started a war by saying, I'm what the culture is feeling, and brought the whole of the West Coast and those who represent hip hop culture to be on the side of Kendrick Lamar. And of course, people were having those feelings about Drake even before this battle. It's one of those things where people would talk about it, but they really wouldn't talk about it. It's like you think something about someone, but you don't really say it. This was somebody bringing it to light and saying this. So I just think, as far as comparing with Not Like Us, I just think how it just breaks down block by block Drake's character flaws and just tears his soul apart is why Euphoria is a better diss record overall. And in the end of the day, did have hard hitting, clever, witty bars that didn't go over your head. It was direct, and you knew what it was, and you knew what he was talking about. I mean, another thing that he said is, do you think the money, the fame is going to make you go away? That's simple but powerful, because it's like this dude has to look in the mirror every day and live with the fact that he's fake. You know what I mean? He's not who he says he is, and he hides behind money and fame to basically make his persona up. So that's why I think I would pick Euphoria over Not Like Us, and that's my number 2 record. And my number 1, of course, is going to be Ether still. I just think at the time, Ether came out, it was a rebuttal to Jay-Z Takeover. And Jay-Z took Nas apart and basically said, you're overrated artist. You're not that hot. People not really feeling you with your over-the-head lyrics or whatever. Nas came back, and this was the most disrespectful, blatant, just character assassination of a man, period. And he went all the way in from, his alleged relationships with Foxy Brown to, him and Dame Dash wanting to be P. Diddy and Notorious B.I.G. so bad. You know what I mean? Jay-Z wanting to be down with him on every one of his records, every one of his classes, begging to be cool with him, begging to be Nas. He just ripped Jay-Z apart like nobody's business on this. And I think part of it too, people were kind of shocked. People really thought after Takeover, Nas did not have this in him. Nas was not known to be the diss record guy. He was more of a guy that was more about intelligent, conscious street lyrics. Nobody saw this coming, and when it came down, oh my God, like it took the world by storm. I mean, this is before social media, but on the radio stations, this is what everybody was talking about, to the point where radio stations all day were playing back-to-back Nas and Jay-Z songs all day. This to me was, and not to mention, these to me are the 2 greatest rappers of all time, Notorious, Jay-Z and Nas. I think they're 1 and 1A, and they went head to head in their prime with these diss records. And I think Ether was the record that kind of put this over the top. And it's still debated to this day, because Takeover was a hard record. I think Takeover is one of the top 10 diss records of all time. But Ether is clearly, to me, in my opinion, number 1. And I don't know if anything will touch that, because it was at the time where hip hop was at its greatest point. I think now with Drake and Kendrick, it's going to go up there as the greatest hip hop battle of all time. You know, I think all of these battles between Biggie and Tupac, Jay-Z and Nas, Drake and Kendrick were between the two 1 and 1A artists of that time period. And I think that's why this added to the impact and magnitude of these diss records. You could argue 50 Cent and Ja Rule, but Ja Rule wasn't the number one guy in the game, but he was up there. And 50 Cent just came in there just to take all his steam out of what Murder Inc. was doing at that time. So, but back to Ether. Yeah, um I don't think anything can really top Ether in my opinion. You know, maybe it's part of that nostalgic time period, but I think Drake and Kendrick is gonna give Ether a run for its money, and that battle between Nas and Jay-Z. And I think people one day may say that Kendrick and Drake are gonna be is the greatest rap battle of all time. But to me, it's always going to be Nas and Jay-Z, because I think Nas and Jay-Z are a higher tier of rapper, a slightly higher tier rapper than Drake and Kendrick. Even though Kendrick is up there and inching his way up the GOAT list, up, you know, he's in the top 10 now, and he potentially could be in the top 5. So that's what I got. Number 5, 50 Cent Back Down. Number 4, Tupac Hit 'Em Up. Number 3, Kendrick Lamar Not Like Us. Number 2, Kendrick Lamar Euphoria. And number 1, Nas Ether. Those are my 5 greatest diss records of all time. Tell me what you think in the comments. What are your 5 best diss records of all time? I know there are plenty up there. I mean, there's Cannabis Second Round Knockout. There's No Vaseline with Ice Cube. Takeover that I mentioned. People could even say Family Matters. That was a very good diss record by Drake. You know, what was your greatest diss record of all time? Also, Back to Back by Drake. That's another one. So give me your top 5 in the comments. Let me know, and let me know what you think of my list. So with that, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Hip Hop Roundtable Reviews. We'll be back with some more content, and let me know your 5 greatest diss records of all time, what you think. And I'll talk to y'all later. All right. Peace.